All right, welcome everybody to Classroom 1, and this is, I forget the name of the class, to be quite honest, but something about getting youth into shooting sports. We're going to go through, do some introductions, then we'll do a little bit of background on each of us here, I think. We're going to run this kind of panel style, so it'll just be kind of a back and forth conversation. We'll allow plenty of time for questions as well. See, we got a lot of kiddos kind of filing in, so that's awesome. And thanks for coming to the first annual goals from GOA. So with that, I'll kick it down, I guess, to Keith first,
Okay.
and we'll come back this way. So just give us just a quick intro, and then we can go into some background if you want.
Yep. So I'm Keith Davis. My boys, James and Grant, they're the 2A boys. We've got a presence on all the socials, YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, X, all of them. And pretty much all of them hate what we do. So that's why we're here. We've got to spread the word. It's coming to events like this and getting exposure to you guys that grows our channel and will help us continue to show the world what freedom is and what we do and what kids are capable of.
My name is Lee Gibson. I am a state director in Texas, and I escaped California. My 2A story focuses on youth shooting, and my son Owen is actually the story here. We actually left California not really knowing at the time that we were leaving over a Second Amendment freedom. But at the rate my son was involved in trap shooting in California with CYSSA, which at the time was California Youth Shooting Sports. They were the second largest organization to Arkansas as far as youth shooters in trap and skeet. And at the rate that Owen would go through ammo to compete, we would have been felons under Newsom's youth shooting laws. So in 2019, an opportunity came for us to leave California for the great state of Texas. So we now reside in Kerrville, Texas, and I eventually went on to become involved with GOA.
Right. And I'm Chris Dover, and I'm here in the capacity of more of a media thing. With CloverTac Productions, I do YouTube podcasting, things of that nature. My experience with youth shooting sports come with my kiddos, which are grown, and I have grandbabies now. So it's been a while, but was really involved for a number of years with 4-H shooting sports there in Texas. So well versed in what it takes to get kiddos involved, the ins and outs of 4-H shooting sports itself, how to get involved as a volunteer, that sort of thing. So I'm going to be drawn on that experience, of course, today, nothing current, unfortunately. Grandbabies are not quite old enough to get there yet. I want to kick it back down to, I think, to you, Keith.
Okay.
Kind of the background story with yourself and James and Grant. What kind of kicked things off for you guys to get involved, not with necessarily the media aspect and coming to these events, but the interest in general?
Right. Well, I grew up and firearms were always common in my family. It was a common tool. We hunt. We enjoyed the outdoors. High school, I was a competitive shooter through the Police Explorer program, and I just carried that on. As my kids came along, I started them shooting 4 or 5 years old, and just continued that. And then it was a little over 2 years ago, I wanted my older boy, James, they're both sitting right here, James and Grant, to learn how to shoot a pistol, because that was one thing that I was more into the long gun side of things at that point. And so I met some retired vets, combat vets, SWAT vet, and he works with kids. And I decided to get James a birthday present, and he started shooting a pistol. That quickly grew into Grant joining the club, and as our homeschool family, we have the time to dedicate to it. And the range they were training at, they ended up being on that range 16 hours a week. It was our PE. So they continued into learning. They already knew the basic safety protocol for firearms, and their instructors just saw their passion for what they were doing and their dedication. I mean, they both were playing baseball, and it came time to sign up for baseball again. I asked them what they wanted to do, and they wanted to shoot. So we took that on, and they just dedicated their time to learning the shooting sports. And we're not really in the competitive world, but they're in the practical world. They're becoming self-sufficient men. And when you look at what we do, you can tie that into raising men and leaders in this crazy world that we're at right now.
You want to follow up? Kind of the same.
Yeah, I think looking back, starting mine at such a young age in competitive, everything that they have grown out of it, the responsibility, the people that you associate with. So you tend to, it's an older crowd that the boys were around,
Mm-hmm.
and all the benefits. And I always tell them, look, it's not what we do, but it's why we do it, why you're out here suffering like this. Owen will tell you on the days when it's not going well. It's the life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people we've met along the way, the opportunities. And I think what I see now as the stories unfolded in here today is that I encourage you to, if the Second Amendment is your focus and all the things that go into that, the younger we get them involved in trigger sports, they feel empowered. It's something different. It translates into, especially for young boys, a sense of pride, of tough. They're doing something different. It's outside the box for kids that aren't athletic. But I can assure you, watching my own boys grow into it, that it does come to fruition, and it's well worth it. And I could go into the expense and all the other.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, my position's a little unique because I think the one kiddo that I had that was most involved, interested, intrigued, and skilled, quite honestly, in shooting sports was my youngest daughter. We've got a lot of boy parents on the panel here.
We've got daughters as well.
Yeah. And so, I could at least speak, from that perspective. There's a lot of opportunities, and we'll get a little heavier into 4-H shooting sports because super easy to get involved if you have the volunteers for that, to get clubs started and whatnot. But to speak on, or to follow up, I guess, on the Second Amendment part of things, like Lee was talking about, one of the issues that we see even with adults, we've seen, the summer of love, the lockdowns, the things, all of the craziness that has went on in the world that has sparked interest in people taking their personal protection into their own hands, right? Taking responsibility for that. And they realize real quickly when they get that first firearm, whether it's, to carry, whether it is for home defense, whatever the case may be, that there are elements out there, anti-2A elements, that want to take that away. Immediately, they want to take their property away, right? Whether that's through legislation or restrictions or magazine limit, whatever it might be. Ultimately, they want to take it away. And I think that you're right, that the quicker and the younger that we get the kiddos involved, they realize that too. They see it on the news and they see the reports of, oh, good Lord, we need to do this assault weapons ban, which would basically the government wants to take away. As a kiddo, they're thinking they want to take away my competition rifle. Yeah. Why do they want to do that? All I do is shoot competition with this. It's not a weapon of war. It's a piece of sporting goods equipment. That's their mentality. That's the way they need to be thinking about it. And so I think that's really important to bring that aspect in. You talked about age, and I don't know. We can pass it back down to kind of get your idea. With 4-H shooting sports, the age is, and it kind of follows the school year, so this is a rough thing, but generally you can say 8 years old, right? And throughout their career in school. And so, I typically stick with that as just a rough estimate of age to get your kiddos started. But if you're talking airsoft, you're talking air guns, you can definitely go, I think, a little bit younger than that. I think the biggest thing is to be involved as a parent, and probably if you're in this class, you've got enough interest in the kiddos and your kids that you're paying attention to your kids, and you can tell when they're mature enough to be able to handle things. I think that's the most important. You could have a kiddo that's 10 and not mature enough to be able to get into shooting sports. You could have a kid that's 6 that does great. So it's obviously it's fluid, but I think 8 is a roundabout good answer. What do you guys think?
I get that question a lot because our youngest, she's 6, and we've got Aunt Crystal over there, but she's 6, and I've been working with her on our YouTube. There's a big video of her and I working together on the range, but I get the question, and my answer is, your kid, and their level, where they're at, and that you can start, if they're not at a level where you could trust them with a live firearm, start them with Nerf guns, start them with airsoft, but don't treat it as the toy that it is. You can still work all the safety rules into running that toy gun. So I look at it as training a kid in another form of martial art almost. You can really compare it to that with the time and dedication that it takes to grow in the martial arts, and you never quit learning that. You can always be better. So you start a kid early in martial arts, and he learns work ethic, he learns dedication, he learns to work through pain, and it really instills. You challenge a kid with grown-up responsibilities, and they're going to grow faster and develop into responsible and leaders in our community.
It always comes to my mind, and I don't know if Owen will remember this story, but one time, and shotgun is unique. It's a little, I don't want to say safer, but the coach dropped Owen off at home, and I said, "Oh, well, Owen, don't clean your gun until we get there." And the coach said, "Do you watch him clean his gun every time he cleans it?" And I said, "No, I never watch him clean his gun." And he was probably 11, 12 at the time. And so that was really eye-opening for me. At that point, he was well trusted with it. And now it just came to my mind watching him now travel the world with his shotgun at now almost 20. And all the times we first went to check in at TSA, terrified. I'm leaving Sacramento, California, shaking with a firearm for the first time. Now he heads off to Italy, Germany on his own, checks that firearm in, and off he goes. So we've run the whole on how to get involved and when and safety.
Right. Yeah, I'll echo real quick because I didn't get into some of the benefits, and I want to echo a couple of things that Lee and Keith have said. I'll add, and I don't know if it was said or not, but I'll add leadership to that.
Yeah.
I've seen my youngest as well as several of the kids in our club, step up. I've seen them had absolute horrible matches. They go in and their first string absolutely implode to the point they are broken shells of themselves, pick themselves up in the break and go on to coach their fellow and help assist and coach their fellow competitors.
Yep.
And that takes a lot of heart to be able to do that. So I see that. I've seen kids come into the program with every kid. I think doctors love prescribing things nowadays, not just kids, but adults. And we see ADD, ADHD, that sort of stuff now more than ever. I don't know what's to blame. I don't know if it's chemicals in the water or the chemtrails in the air, or it's just the evolution of the human body. What I will say is that the discipline, the safety aspect, the focus, all of the things that is required in shooting sports can absolutely benefit kiddos with ADHD. It can help kids better focus in class to get better grades. I've seen it. I've seen it with multiple kids over the years. It gives them something that's fun that they can enjoy, but at the same time they can accomplish things with.
Yeah.
They can get better at it. It brings a community aspect as you grow and build some type of a club, maybe that sort of thing. And I know with my youngest daughter, it led to essentially a free 5-year ride to college.
Mm-hmm.
So, not just from pulling triggers, there was a lot of club related, what would be the word, community service
Community,
involved with
yep.
that. Obviously had to keep grades up, and there was a lot of other requirements like that. But shooting sports definitely paved the way. Anything you guys want to hit on or move to?
I don't. You bring up your was it your daughter or your kids in the club failing? I can't do it.
Yeah,
I watched that little kid right there.
I looked at Owen and I didn't want to tear up, but what we go through to watch him, and I can't tell you enough the difference in that he'll have just recently, you can correct the story if I'm wrong, Owen, but he went off to travel on his own, and I get the message, I just shot 2 18s, this is it, I'm done, I'm the worst. And I sent I looked something up quick on mental, and I sent it to him, and he must have read it. I don't know. He didn't answer me. But all of a sudden, somebody else at the range sent me a video of Owen slamming down his last shot. And he finally texted me back and said, well, that was for 25. So we went from 18 to a straight 25. And he'll go coach kids. And we always get, we use the same coach. So we're fortunate enough to be friends with Brian Burrows, and I encourage anybody that can get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area or meet Brian. If you're interested in shotgun, ask Owen for Brian's contact. He's a bronze medalist in Tokyo. He's from California. He's fantastic with shotgun. So I'd love to share him with you, but it's amazing what they do go through in the highs and the lows, and how proud you are, and it's something so different. And going back to kids that struggle, we have watched kids that do so well, and I'm sure in other disciplines, but in shotgun, that ability to hyper focus, and these kids are a little. I think Owen would tell you they're the ones that can get through the mental challenge and actually focus. It doesn't sound like a lot. So in shotgun, and what Owen shoots is Olympic trap. So if you might have watched, but you get 25 birds, and so the focus for 25 birds is a lot more than you think it is. But I tell you that kids that can hyper focus on activities, it does suit them. So if that's a struggle, trigger sports are a benefit.
Yep.
And I think the outsider would tell you, no, never, don't do it. But when you have responsible coaches and you have responsible programs, it's a huge benefit.
That's right. I'm going to get through it now. We were in a training alongside grown men, military vets, and these boys are at the level where they're not just being trained by them, they're training alongside these guys, running high-speed drills that these guys have instilled, have enough trust in these little kids to run bullets by their head. And we were in it was called an unconventional rifle class. It's shooting behind barricades in unconventional positions we called it gun yoga. But Grant was pushing through a challenge, and he stuck with it, and we worked him through it. And at the end of the day, those men were right there with him. He's an inspiration to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You bring up the kind of like a run and gun
Oh, yeah.
type scenario,
Yeah.
and then of course Lee with the shotgunning. A little bit different for me because I dabbled in literally everything. Our club handled archery, rifle, pistol, shotgun, and muzzle loading, which is black powder for those that don't know. So with that said, I don't know how if you add all of those up. I don't know how, and even when we're talking run and gun, there's multiple
Yeah, there's
levels of
multiple
competition
aspects.
and types of matches. So
Yeah.
the options are unlimited. You're bound to find something that your kiddo enjoys that maybe they're a little more focused on. I think if they enjoy it, they're definitely going to be focused. The options are plentiful out there for sure. We'll say it was brought up. You mentioned Lee with shotgunning and how it seemed safer. I've got a quick anecdote. Is that the word? I'm an East Texas redneck, so I think that's how you say it. So again, our club handled a bunch of different disciplines. And we brought people in primarily through our archery program. And so when we're talking shooting sports, I love archery, and I always throw archery in because the benefits a kid can receive from archery, while it may not directly tie into the 2A, I don't think they will. Well, if they take all the guns away, they may take the bow and arrows too.
We'll still have
eventually.
slingshots, right?
They never stop taking things away. The government never stops overreaching, I don't think. But we found that it was easier to go to fairs and events and functions and set up a little archery range and recruit that way. And why? Because it seemed safer. And then
It's quiet.
we would get out on the range on a range day, and we would be running all disciplines simultaneously on different parts of the range. We had plenty of volunteers at our peak anyway, plenty of volunteers and plenty of room.
Yeah.
And so the new folks would come in that archery, of course, intrigued them, and they brought it in. And then they would see the 8-year-old shooting pistol, and they'd be, oh my God, there's kids younger than mine shooting pistols over there. What? And they would see how safe and organized and structured it was. And it wouldn't be any time. Getting back around to my point, archery seems like a safe bet, right? It's maybe adjacent to 2A, but not directly. You don't hear of a mass casualty event with archery. I mean, you don't hear that sort of thing, right? It's not demonized. John Wick, did he use a bow? I don't think he did. So there's no Hollywood drama around that. Robin Hood did, sure. I don't know if Robin Hood actually.
He did steal from the rich.
He did steal from the rich. This is true. But the perception seems to be, and Katniss and all of that good stuff too is really a popular thing. But the perception is it's safer. And I did some studies on this because in a lot of the instructor and coach trainings that I went to in 4-H, they said, hey, in the 100 and something years of 4-H shooting sports, there's been 0 accidents, 0 fatalities involving firearms, serious accidents and serious fatalities. Obviously, when you're out, on a range, stuff like that, you could trip in a gopher hole, you could get in poison ivy, things can happen. And from there, I started looking into some stats nationwide on actual sports and which sports are the safest. Football is almost at the tippy top of the list. If you want your kid to get hurt, football's probably the sport to put them in. Shooting sports, as far as firearms, ranked, I think in the top 20, but definitely somewhere between 15 and 20. Archery was actually higher on the list than firearms. And I thought, how can this be? Archery is safe. It's a bow and arrow. What's the problem with this? Number one is the perception of safety. The perception of safety creates a situation where the archer is not paying attention like they would if that was, a 22 long rifle round in there or a 12 gauge shotgun shell or, it was a firearm, right? It's supposed to be safe. I can goof around with it. No, you can't. The second aspect, if you look into it, and especially if you're talking like a recurve bow, count the number of sharp pointy edges on a recurve bow that has an arrow knocked. If you turn around, if you turn it the wrong way, you're smacking the person next to you, you're putting an eye out, you're doing all kinds of crazy things. So I just bring that up to say that safety is perspective based, and you got to be, regardless of what you're doing, you've got to build that respect for was that piece of equipment that kiddo was using.
Yep.
And that archery in and of itself, it can be a great gateway drug for shooting sports as well.
It actually, archery was led into where I grew up. I was 10 years old, and my parents would drop me off at a bow shop every Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there all day long, learning how to build bows, tune bows. And it led into the rest of my love for the sport. So,
Yeah.
I mean, y'all see my passion for this. It's brought my family together, and it's huge. And every family needs this in this country. I don't have to worry about leaving my kids home alone, or if I'm not there, because we have a plan if something were to go down, and we know what safe storage is. And it's not what the media tells you it is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
If you don't mind, I just wanted to tie this back
Go
to
ahead.
Gun Owners of America and the Second Amendment. And I've noticed, so Owen shoots USA shooting, and that's what you'll see in the Olympics. And they travel the world's international skeet and bunker. And when the kids go, they were in Germany, they get asked a lot about the Second Amendment. And as a director in the state of Texas, one of my missions is to get more youth involved in shooting sports. Coming from California, I got to Texas and I thought, well, everyone is going to have youth shooting here in Texas. And it wasn't as prevalent as in California, as easy to get to, because they would say, we're Texans, we play football.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of going to put out the ask to those of you that are here involved or know somebody that wants to get involved. Feel free to contact me in Texas. But as we grow for GOA, we would love to branch into these youth shooting and help fundraise, sponsor events. Obviously, we're a grassroots organization. We need your help. If you're in a state that you know of a shooting organization, arrange. If you've got kids, if you want to kick something off yourself, I would love to help you, be the point person, connect you with people in 4-H that we know from our experiences. It's something that we can build. We take these kids under our wing and we build the next generation. I hate to say it, but in the last room I was just in, they notified me that I wasn't going to live forever. And that the country that we love, the Constitution that we love, is dependent on the next generation. And so I'm a huge proponent of this. I've seen it happen in my own life, not even knowing it was happening to me. Yet here I sit for Gun Owners of America, an organization that began in California. If you don't know the story, I can tell it real quick. Yeah. But there I was, a native of California, knew nothing about Gun Owners of California until I moved to Texas and learned the story of GOA.
Wow.
So we're just getting started with Gun Owners of America and the growth that you see. So if I can do anything from the inside to help any of you that want to get your kids involved, please feel free to reach out and find me, because I need you as much as I could be useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a bit of clairvoyance, I think, because that's where I wanted to go next was how can they, what do they need to do? How can they get it started? Well, if you're a safe, responsible firearm owner already and you have property and your kiddo seems like they're mature enough to handle it, you get out in the back pasture or the woods or whatever and get after it. If you want the community aspect, if you want to do more, volunteering is always a wonderful thing. There are unfortunately kiddos out there that come from single parent homes. Parents work all the time, maybe, whatever the case may be, and they need some adult leadership as well as other kid companionship, and shooting sports is a good way to get them friends. Maybe they're loners in school, having a hard time making friends. There's things like that. Shooting sports can give them those common things to work on. With 4-H shooting sports, and again, I echo what Lee said. Get in touch with me. I'm all over social media. Slide in my DMs, so to speak, if you've got questions. But as far as 4-H shooting sports, whatever state you're in, it's pretty easy. There is a university in your state that handles the agricultural extension office
Mhm.
of that state. And every county has an agricultural extension office through that particular university. So a little bit of Google food, a little bit of research, you can pretty quickly find that out. You go down there, you say, hey, I'm ready to start a 4-H club, and it can be in anything, but we're talking about shooting sports, of course, today.
Yep.
You say, I'm ready to start a club. What they're pretty much going to tell you is you need at least 5 kiddos from the age of 8, all the way through a senior in high school, from 2 different families. That's it. That's it. There's a little bit of training involved, and they'll hook you up. They'll set you up with that. A lot of counties have grants, at least to send a few people to the coach trainings for your club to get you started. 1 or 2 or something like that. From there, it's up to you to do fundraising and other things as you bring on volunteers. But pretty easy if you want to spread out from just your own kiddos and try to help and affect and better the life of the other ones out there, other kiddos.
I can touch on doing it not through an organized organization. Just find, if you're not confident in your own abilities to train your kids, find an instructor that is. Go to any range and find an old man. We call them FUDs.
Competition somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
or competition shooting. But even that is because we look at things not doing them on a organized level. I mean, they've shot in on unsanctioned competitions, but they've been trained by instructors that have taken them in under their wings, and through myself, and we've all started training together on just a grassroots level like GOA.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the confidence in yourself to work with your kids, and some parents just see it better to have their kids trained by someone else other than themselves, they might be more receptive to it.
Right.
Just find somebody that will take them in, that you trust. You've got to make sure you trust them and that they're safe. But there's hundreds of people out there that would take a kid under their wing and teach them at least the very basics, because I feel that everyone in society should know the basic safety rules of firearms, and I think we'd have a lot less accidents if that was the case, because there are 4 universal rules. Every firearm incident, at least one of those rules was broken, if not 2.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think, are we ready for questions?
Yeah. Unless you got anything, Lee?
You got anything else?
Follow up?
I think this goes all the way back to the beginning, that why don't gun owners get to the polls and vote?
Yeah.
So if we can get gun owners out for this election, you can calculate the numbers, but whether it's hunters, firearm owners, and it goes back to the younger we start them appreciating what they have and who's going to take it away. And I hear from adults, and I think this is where we started all the time. I will say to grown men, please just come to the Capitol, just sit there with your nice beard and stare at the legislators for me. You don't have to get up and testify. I just need you to come stare at them.
Right.
And I don't know how to do that. But I can get these kids that have shot for a World Cup shotgun team, no problem. They'll walk right in, mouth off, and leave. Post a meme, and we're good to go. And it terrifies me when I meet grown men that say they're not going to take my firearms. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You ain't coming for me. I don't got to go to the Capitol, nor do I have to vote. So, now that I've been with GOA for 2 years and I go to the Capitol and I meet politicians, and in Texas, we're going to take them on a 7-week bus ride. I beg you, please get your kids involved in trigger sports and protecting the Second Amendment, because I've been to the Texas Capitol. So
10 million gun owners aren't
right.
registered to vote.
So I do, and again, anything that GOA can do to help you. Again, we're small, but we want to help you. We want to help you with your kids, and if you start a program and we can bring Second Amendment training, all kinds of possibilities out there.
Mhm.
On that real quick, and then we'll take questions. This event that we're at today, there are tons and tons of companies, and I know from, again, the media side more recently, what I've been doing, tons and tons of great companies on that show floor down there with tons and tons of great people that if you approach them as an individual and said, hey, I'm looking at starting whatever kind of club, it doesn't have to be 4-H. And you know what? We need a couple of shotguns. We need a couple of 22 pistols. We need a couple. Now they're probably going to require that, you get the club set up and you get the proper documentation and things like that, because there's people out there that will game the system. We know how that works sometimes.
Yep.
But if you come back with them, exchange information and come back with some of those companies with that, I have almost zero doubts that they would help you out as well. And so just keep that in mind. That's one of the cool things about an event like this, is just the amazing people, not just, that you may see on TV or see on YouTube or whatever, but the amazing people with the industry and the amazing people that you just meet by chance, the general public that shows up sometimes, and you're having conversations that you never thought you'd have in your life. So take advantage of this many awesome people in one place. By walking that show floor down below and actually talking to people.
Sorry, I talk a lot. I'm sorry. But I again, watching Owen grow up, and I'm sure your kids are younger, but the opportunities now. So Owen's doing filming for GOA. He's got political opportunities. All these opportunities have come. As they grow older, he shoots a Beretta, but they quickly want you on their team. They want you on their social media.
Yes. Yep.
It's all the opportunities that will follow in the industry. So we continue to grow the industry with these kids that have grown up doing this.
That's right.
And so, Owen probably doesn't want you to know, but he did less than one semester of college. And when he was at Olympic trials in Tucson, and he didn't want to do his homework. And I said, just forget it. The opportunities you've had because you've carried that Beretta around the world, you'll be fine.
That's right. These two boys, when they're only a couple years from going into the career world, and they've got a whole room of people ready and willing to bring them on. So if they don't just carry on our brand and we continue to build that business. So it's there for the taking, really. So
we can take questions.
yeah. Any questions out there? Yes, sir.
I'd like to get your perspective on how do you deal with, and I'm sure you've experienced it, being confronted with people that are looking at you going, how dare you have your kids involved in a trigger sport, or even what you're doing, Keith, with just self-reliance?
At what point in this country did training a kid how to shoot become uncommon? 100 years ago, it was common.
50 years ago.
50 years ago, it was common.
Yeah.
So mass media has just convinced the world that it's uncommon and shouldn't be done, and we've got to take that back. And I look them straight in the eye, and I tell them that. I said, you live your life, I'm going to live mine, and I'm going to raise men to be independent and self-sufficient, and that's part of it.
You'd actually be surprised. This happened last legislative session in Texas. There's a Texas representative. She files the same bill every 10 years to make a certain day in September. I don't even know what she calls it. Some kind of firearm safety day. Everybody lock your gun up. And it's going to be a curriculum taught by teachers and passed out at the schools by teachers. And I thought, I'm going to just go talk to her in the hallway and tell her my story, and that I would love to bring this down to the Houston area and bring youth out to experience it. And she said, you can do that? And I thought, I was new with GOA. I thought, well, I'm GOA, I can do anything. And she hugged me. So there we were. Totally opposing sides. I said, we don't need a law that says we can hang out together. And her office was calling me a week later. Now, did I have the bandwidth to get it done? No. That's why I'm asking you. I need your help. I need your grassroots help. If you can get me to a range in Houston, I know a Texas representative that would like to have us in her community. And actually, last story, but I was with gun shows in Houston because of my great radio partners, and Owen was with me. So here's a kid who's, shot, and you could see some private sales going on at this gun show. Kind of Houston private sales. And Owen said to me in the car ride, Mom, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about private sales? Those guys probably going back downtown Houston. And I told Owen, I care more about those guys protecting themselves. I don't know what they're going to go back to downtown Houston. They're probably going back to defend their family. I didn't get the vibe they were going to kill me or coming after me, but I care more about those kids in downtown Houston than whoever's running Houston.
Right.
So, we don't confront it as much as you think because we care. This industry cares, the firearms community, the people at the Capitol fighting, and we wanted as much for them, probably more. We had PBS at the Austin Capitol do a documentary, and they wanted to make us all look crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, by the time I talked to them, they wanted to come to the gun range with me, but their producers wouldn't let them. So it's all about the grassroots interaction, the conversations we have. I mean, I hate it's cheesy, but we're a pretty cool family.
Yeah. The way I've responded in the past is just reinforcing the safety protocols, the structured environment, and the safety record.
Mm-hmm.
100+ years with no incidents, with thousands and thousands of kids across the country every year at all levels of coaching instructors. I mean, these aren't world-renowned instructors; they're parents that go take a weekend-long course. Lately, a lot of what I hear in that vein has to do with cause of death for kids, right? Children. Unfortunately, they're using stats that are made up, they're doctored, because they're counting ages 17, 18, and 19. And I'm sorry, but I don't think your kids, it's like the same thing as gang violence with 17, 18, 19-year-old, right?
Yep.
And it works the same when we're talking about, the incidents in school, at school. They count after hours, drug deals gone bad. They count all kinds of things in those stats. Why? To try to make their point.
Yep.
So the truth will set you free. Make sure that you challenge their false stats and then make sure that, and then reinforce that we are safe, responsible firearm owners. And that is the mentality we're passing on to these kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing that when people say, how dare you teach your kids, how dare you not teach your kids?
Yeah.
If you have a gun in your household, that is a responsibility. But even if you don't, your kids are going to go to other people's houses who do have guns in their homes. Most of those happen when someone says, oh, look what I found. And I know, like we were taught, if someone says, look what I found, you get away from that thing. We're taught respect from 4, 5, 6 years old. Our parents took us out, shot a deer with it, showed us what a gun did, all that stuff.
Yep.
So if someone says to you, how dare you teach your kids? How dare you not teach your kids?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
No, and it's pretty obvious to me, not obvious to a lot of people, but it's pretty obvious to me that the danger in a lot of things when it comes to kids, we could be talking guns, we could be talking drugs, we could be talking a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's curiosity.
Yeah.
And there's no reason a kid should be curious about a firearm. There's no reason. There's millions upon millions of safe, responsible firearm owners in this country. There's no reason for that to be the case.
That's right.
We got another one?
Yes, sir.
Go about finding a range that will allow someone under a child under 10.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's the problem I'm having right now. I'm looking for a place to go take my son, 7 years old, who's showed a lot of interest and enthusiasm in learning how to shoot properly.
Mm-hmm.
But every range I contact you have to be 10 or 12
Mm.
in order to go out on the firing line
Where are you at?
here in Knoxville.
In Knoxville, and you're having that issue.
Wow.
Okay, GOA, get to work.
GOA.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because we're family, come to Texas.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a little bit of a drive.
Right.
I know there's people here. Find me when we're done, and where we held the range day, media range day on Thursday. Josh, he'll make it happen for you. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, but for everyone else that runs into that same problem, find the right person at that range. Have a talk with them. You sign your life away anyhow when you step onto the range. There's no reason why you, as a responsible gun owner, cannot train your kid to be a responsible gun owner on their facility, because you sign all the liabilities and everything. It's with the release. So you've got to find the right person and fight for it. I mean, the first thing when people hear kids and shooting, the first thing they want to do is look at their age and not look at their ability or just look past their age. They've got to learn to do that. We face that everywhere we go. And with our reach now, and people are starting to know us and recognize us, they realize that the boys are beyond that.
Yep.
But I still will hit a brick wall every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
We'll approach a vendor on the firing line that does not want kids touching their stuff, even though they're the future of the industry. So it's finding the right person and fighting for what you believe in.
Yeah. I would say this was also, we're getting into some type of a club, kind of gives you some benefit as well. You may not be a part of the competition team, right, of that club. Maybe you just make the practices or something, right? But being a member of that particular club could allow access. I do know some ranges that have age limits, not as extreme as what you're talking about, because they recognize those ranges that 4-H starts at 8 years old. So usually the ones I see are 8 and up. And that may be when you're talking like he said, with just getting the right person at the range, having that conversation, that sort of thing, maybe that's something you bring up and go, well, hey, you're saying it's 10 or 12 years old. Well, are you guys not involved in helping out the 4-H shooting sports clubs around? Because those kiddos can start shooting at 8 years old, and there's a certain amount of discrimination. I'd hate to throw that word around willy-nilly and lightly, but that's the truth at the same time. If you're arbitrarily picking an age, and you spoke to that, Keith, with, it's about the maturity level. It really is, and the education and understanding rather than the age. There's not that much difference between 8 and 10 and 12 when it comes to the capacity to be able to understand how to be a safe, responsible user of a firearm.
It just came to me. I have an older son who's 21 and now wants to carry in Texas. That terrifies me more, that college age, than your 7-year-old, to be honest. Now, no compromise. I firmly believe that at 18, they should be able to constitutionally carry, permit carry, everywhere carry. But it's harder to get through to a 21-year-old. I trusted Andrew more at 7 than I trust him now at 21 because of his peer group. And I met a woman who, horrible story about her college-age son, and she now has a group to prevent what happened to her son on a college campus with a handgun on a table. So, again, and it's parental rights, right? So, yeah.
We can take one more. We got another question. I think we got time. We got about 5 minutes. If we got anybody else, raise a hand. No? Yeah, let's run through and just closing thoughts, whatever you need to do. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I think Keith brought up earlier
Yep.
Not just
Valid.
saying, go to your closet and hide and we'll come get you. Is if you trust them enough, getting them involved in the process.
Yep.
And open their eyes and say, this isn't just about plinking. This isn't just about going to the range. This is about defending one's property and lives.
Yep.
If you trust them at that point, that could be a really good way as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's pretty much how we've brought our boys up and the kids, just being self-sufficient and independent. But you have to get them to a certain point before you bring
Is there
that
an
in.
age that you would do that?
Is that it's all in how you know your kids and their maturity level. And I mean, Grant being we tell everybody that Grant's 10, but he identifies as a 34-year-old man.
Right.
So they're at that level, and we've trained them to that level. So, but it is a very good point, and you
It
can
starts with like the fire escape plan, right?
yes.
And then it gets to, okay, well, someone's at the door that we don't know. And then this is happening. So it's like you were talking about it's bringing that plan together and getting them involved in it.
That's right.
In multiple different steps. And as they continue to mature and get older, they understand their value to that part of the process.
Yep. Yep.
And it gives
That
them
sounds it.
confidence and strength to where they want to continue to be more than they currently are.
Right.
So you want to go? We'll close it out, or you
Yeah,
want to
real
touch
quick,
on that? Okay.
Just real quick on what you're talking about, both of you there. Yeah, having them involved could point out flaws and holes in your plan too, because
Yeah.
you're getting a totally different perspective when you're talking about getting a perspective from an 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid. They may be thinking on a wavelength that you massively overlooked something.
Yeah.
And so they may not only be able to become a part of the plan, but contribute to establishing the plan in the first place.
Right. It's a heavy weight. It's a heavy burden to put on a kid, but at the same time, it helps them grow. So
Yeah, you can close it out if you want.
any last questions at all? Well, I'm going to go ahead. We'll close it out. Let's plug our socials. Tell them where to find us.
However you want to run it. Yeah.
You can find us on our website, the2aboys.com. Also on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube. If you ever have any questions, want to reach out to us, I answer all those direct messages. So just stick to it and get out and spend time with your family on the range.
And I'd just like to thank you all for being here on behalf of Gun
Yes.
Owners of America. This is really turning out to be a fantastic event, and really truly do appreciate you all making the effort to join us. And again, I'm in Texas. If there's anything I can do that will help us move the youth forward to fight for the Second Amendment, I will do it for you.
And I'm going to say, again, thank you. And I'm going to encourage you to get down on that floor, walk that floor, speak with the fellow, public people that are down there. You never know when you can make a new friend. Talk to the companies. They're real people too. Especially if there's a product that you see you like, that can become a part of your own defense plan. That can be a part of teaching your kids maybe.
Mm-hmm.
All different things. Have that conversation with those people in that booth. That's why they're here. They're representatives of those companies, and they're here to talk to you. There's plenty of other panels, other classroom meetings, other things that are up here, just a lot of stuff going on. So take part of it. It's one of the perks you're getting as a member of the GOA. As for me, again, I make very horrible YouTube videos and very insane podcasts, but usually have a really good guest on the podcast when I have them. At CloverTac is pretty much everywhere on all the social medias, YouTube and everywhere else. And to echo Lee and Keith here, I'm a little bit removed from the 4-H shooting sports and all that, but I was at the level of instructing and certifying coaches for 4-H and all of that. A little bit has changed, but not much in my years of doing that. And so if you have any questions about that, how to get one started, how to get involved, you're trying to find one in your state, I've still got connections, and I can help you out with that. So don't be afraid to reach out. And thanks again for joining the classroom. We appreciate it.